All right, Libra, this one is for you. Greetings. This is Tarot Illumination. That's you, Libra. This is your love and relationship mini report, generic report from May 2018. Cards are already well shuffled in advance, but we're going to go to the last second again so that you're a witness, like we always do. No jumpers, no flyers, no oracles, no reversals. Okay? So we're also going to use what I call a crucible spread. Okay? It's on the understanding that there's you, Libra, a significant other, and a third entity that has a life and energy of its own. It's called a relationship. Okay? And in a loving, healthy relationship, both parties understand that and respect that, and they nurture the relationship itself. Okay? So before we actually get into the spread, I've been showing this to a lot of people, but the thing is, with you, Libra, you're not getting any absolute direct hits from the planets right now in the traditional way that they call it, in with the 7th house or the 5th house for love and relationship. But it's still very important to know that May the 15th is a huge landmark moment for the whole planet and affecting you too. But it's up in here in your 8th house, more to do with intimacy. This is more to do with the energy of what happens at the most intimate parts of your relationship when you're with a significant other, and what happens when you are literally merging resources, merging your bodies to create new life, which is what happens. Also the energy of like what happens when all the role playing and all the facades have disappeared. What have you really got in the relationship? And that's the deep intimacy. A lot of people not necessarily looking for that. It's too uncomfortable sometimes. It's very beautiful if you can handle it, if you do it right, but it can be very intimidating because you're going into the deepest, let's say, shadowy, darkest places of love and relationship, which can be very scary at times. So you might be getting a glimpse of that, but in general, for you, Libra, I think it's just too early to predict or talk about anything like that right now. So I'm going to leave out most of this stuff here. There's a huge Taurus Scorpio full moon at the beginning of the month, and then there's the big, actually there is something a little bit interesting for you at the end of the month, May 29th. There's the Gemini Sun with the Sagittarius Moon. Now those are very harmonious, comfortable energies for you. So, but that's going to be, again, it's not directly in your love relationship sector, so I'm just going to leave it, okay? I hope you don't mind. I hope you don't feel shortchanged. I'm just going to leave it. All right? We'll talk about it probably a lot more when we do the general reports, not the love and relationship. All right? So let's have a look what the cards are just going to tell us for the time being. It's just a little story. Watch for your sun, your moon, and your rising, and reinterpret to suit you. Also, if you want to get ahead, watch for your significant other if you know some of their details. All right, I think we're good to go now. Yes, here we go. All right, let's cut it up. Let's cut it up, people. That was a nice big fat cut. Look at that. Yeah. All right, so this would be the energy that you're radiating. All right, Libra, we're always radiating energy, even in love and relationship, even if you're not theoretically in a relationship. So if you're single and you want to, you can watch this as a potential, as a what if. If you use the laws of attraction to the extreme, you radiate energy and then you get a reflection that it bounces back. You attract that, something that you attract from a significant other. So this could be the energy of what if, like who might show up. But otherwise, this is for couples, people who are coupled up in some way or another. Even if you're in a triangle, whatever, it doesn't matter, you're still coupled up. And this would be the energy that they're radiating. This is you at the depth of your soul. This is them at the depth of their soul. And this is the core of the relationship itself. And this is the momentum, okay? Everything is always in a state of flow as we intimate, as we separate, intimate and separate. And here is the crucible itself, okay? This is the structure in which the relationship occurs, in which you conduct the relationship, okay? How you intimate and separate. And the crucible in a really loving, healthy relationship is very strong. Both parties invest in the crucible so that you can withstand the ebb and the flow, the ups and the downs, the joy and the sorrow, the ecstasy and the grief that can occur in the context of a deeply loving relationship. We're going to look at circumstantial energy. Think of it as the weather. You, Libra, like the rest of us, are going to make the best of it. So you have the Eight of Cups here. So you might be feeling maybe a little bit left out in some way, somehow. My feeling is that it's almost like watching your life perhaps as, you know how people detach themselves and they start looking at their life and everything is just ticking along, but you feel it deep inside that there are seismic shifts happening where there is a lot of love that you have shared and a lot of love that has been shared with you. And yet, there is this awareness that a new journey is unfolding, going deeper than ever before with very, very little guidance except, let's just say, your intuition, deep spirit, okay? So that could possibly relate to, let's say, seismic shifts that you might be feeling here, especially regarding the intimacy in your love life. Okay, there's the relationship. There's, you know, are we going to get pizza tonight? Oh, I don't know. I thought we had too much last week. Let's switch to Chinese, okay? And everything can go along and everybody can play their roles and do their tasks and all their wonderful things. But a lot of stuff happens under, you know, there are layers. And with this, with everything moving here into the 8th house for you, we're going to the deepest depths of the layers of relationship, which could include the depths of intimacy, the sharing of one's body with another, and the body and the soul, a complete merger, which is what happens in physical union, typically in a very loving relationship where people deliberately dissolve themselves into the other to have a chance to taste that ecstasy. So it might be feeling as though you know what that is, but there is a deep shift going on where maybe there's a whole new level awakening, or whether you're being left out or whether you're having to move on because maybe it's history. Maybe it's all turned into history and we're entering a new life cycle in your relationships, Libra. Okay? It's nothing to be scared of. It just means a significant change is happening at the most intimate parts of your relationship, okay? You might not even have any words for it, but your soul would sense this and knowing that you have to move on. There is no choice. Okay. With the Tower, it's the big kerblam here. So this could relate directly to Uranus and Taurus. I was trying to avoid this as a subject matter for the reading, but I'm starting to sense it anyway, so I don't think we can avoid it. It's happening with the most intimate parts of your relationship. So you might be feeling as though your whole life is being upended completely when it comes to intimacy. I'm not saying a marriage or a partnership itself, but what happens at the depths of the soul of the partnership or the relationship or the marriage, where the sense could be that you are falling apart completely and there's no stopping it, or the relationship is falling apart completely and there's no stopping it, or even more importantly, the intimacy inside of a deeply loving relationship seems to have reached a cataclysmic moment where most people would interpret that as stopping and falling apart. And the question is, what do we do now? The spirit goes on anyway. You know, whatever's happening in your three-dimensional physical life, your journey has its, your spirit is living its own journey through your physical body. So it could be shocking. It could be shock and awe, amazing surprises. Everything gets ripped apart and shredded and irreversibly, which puts you in a position of having no option but to accept the spiritual journey going forward, no matter how much you might have loved in the past or no matter how much you love the past for the way it was, going forward in terms of history, what we call time, there's no going back here. Okay, let's have a look at the other. Okay, with the Two of Wands here, you Libra, might be relating with someone who's already looking to new horizons, looking ahead, planning new things, new adventures, new passions, a new passion in the way to live and how to conduct their life. And my feeling is they're probably perfectly aware of you in the context of all of this, but they are simply being themselves, living their own life, and it would be like a side effect in the way that it would affect you. In other words, if you even think of this soul here as moving on and they're carrying this staff, which is like what you hold on to maintain your sense of grip, stability, and passion. My feeling is that in some way they know you're going to be okay and that you're okay, and it's not their responsibility. They've already kind of like made their decision that a whole new horizons are opening up before them, and it's a question of what are they going to do with this now. And that's just them living their life, okay? However, it might be impacting you directly in such a way that it seems cataclysmic for you. It might not have any display, there might not be any outward displays of the cataclysmic changes that are happening here, because it seems to me that it's happening very much at the soul level, deep down at the spiritual level. And some people have that. You know how a lot of people in relationships, the intimacy goes and they just live the roles, and they start to either neglect or abandon, or it just becomes inappropriate to have intimacy in a relationship because the thing has fundamentally changed forever. And so what can often happen, you probably know that, is people still stick to the structure while the soul is changing and moving on. And I feel that's what's happening here with you guys, Libra. They are already figuring out what to do in the context of this love and relationship. And I don't see any hint of a finite plan here. It's just that they are seeing new horizons and making decisions that you might not even be aware of yet, but you can sense it in the soul, and that's very disruptive for you, okay? In other words, it might be very shocking and disruptive to know that your loved one is looking elsewhere, okay? Going deep down inside of you. This makes me feel like it's very challenging for the ego. Very, very deeply challenging, because it puts you in a place where it's just like, wait a minute, I thought we had going for us, and we got that, and that going for us, and yet this is happening over here with a significant other. And so as the layers of, let's say, dysfunction of whatever's not working become more and more vividly apparent, it puts more and more pressure on the soul at the ego level to understand this from the spiritual perspective and not take it personally as though you, Libra, have been insulted or degraded or diminished by a significant other. Remember, they're just living their life just like you're living your life, and you happen to be in the context of a relationship. And relationships do change and evolve and grow over time. And it feels to me here that as cataclysmic as the changes might be, they're irreversible, like what happens with like massive lightning storms and earthquakes and tidal waves and tsunamis that come out of the blue. Remember when Uranus moved into Aries, I think it was 7 years ago, wasn't it, when they had the big Fukushima disaster? Earthquakes happen all day, every day across the world, but kerblam, out of space, totally unpredictable as far as they're concerned. Earthquake, devastating, life-changing for everybody. We're still dealing with the after effects. So I feel the same thing for you here in your waking life. You might be observing these cataclysmic changes, but carrying on as if nothing's happening. And that puts tremendous pressure on the ego, because it's like the ego is being splintered here and asked to, let's say, do kind of an upgrade, being asked to, like your soul is saying to itself, like, I have to keep this thing together, what we have. But the ego's trying to say it in such a way that you don't get offended, Libra, but it feels to me as though this could be very painful for you. And it's not very cool or nice or fun to admit how painful things are when things aren't working in a relationship. And then the only recourse is to treat this from the spiritual perspective and then figure out what is the spiritual message here? What is the spiritual journey here? And look at it from this perspective and taking it, instead of taking it as a slight or that you are not loved anymore. There can still be a tremendous amount of love here. It's just that circumstances and conditions are going through radical shifts and radical changes deep inside of them. Okay. Again, I feel here with the Queen of Cups, absolutely no harm is intended. Okay. You're dealing with a significant other who is deeply loaded, deeply, let's say, gifted with love energy, and they're literally trying to figure out what to do with all of that. They're not sure. My feeling is that they don't really know themselves, and they're having to make very, very big decisions about what's happening going forward, looking forward. And there's absolutely no harm to hurt you, or no, there's no intention of harm here. It's just that we're dealing with things here that are beyond our personal control. These are impersonal planets. When we're talking about Uranus, you can't even see it. There's Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. We can see those. Those are the personal planets. But when you get into Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, you're dealing with huge currents of energy that you can't even see. So I think that's what's happening here. And it could be very shocking for you and put a lot of pressure on you to maintain your dignity and respecting your ego in a very, very noble way, and not blame this on your significant other. That's very unfair. That's my interpretation here. In other words, as shocking as changes might be, it's very important to see that it's still loaded with love here. It's just that circumstances are changing so radically, and it's irreversible. And all the love is there. It's historic. It's embedded. It's just that things change and we move on. We evolve in love and relationships. Let's have a look at the core. Okay. Well, with the Knight of Pentacles here, my personal feeling is that you want the best for them too. Okay? I know it sounds very hard and very contradictory given what we just talked about, but it feels to me that no matter what, no matter how cataclysmic things might be for you, no matter how challenging to the self, the ego, the full-on Libra person who is all about love and relationship, to discover that you're relating with someone who is seriously on a different path here and looking forward, still has all the love for you, but doesn't know what to do with it anymore because they have changed as a person. You have changed and grown in a person over the years and the history that you've built. And it's time to change and shift and move on. And it's being displayed most evidently in the context of the intimacy of your relationship. Some people would say, well, it's all dried up, people. It's all dried up. The love can still be there, but the romance and the intimacy can be gone. That happens. People can still love each other and have love lives like that, but the physical expression tends to have disappeared and been left aside. Now, the thing is that I think my feeling here is that you understand this deep down at the soul level. And as tough as this might be for you, you're not going to take it personally. You might be crushed and hurt and feel shocked and awed by all of this and the shifts and the changes from their behavior, their perspectives as they live their life in the context of their relationship with you. And it's almost like you're blessing them. You're blessing them and saying, you know what? I have no idea what's going on with you, my dear loved one over here. It's very evident that you have moved on or that you are moving on. And it's cataclysmic for me. And it's putting me at the extreme edges of my egoic abilities to cope with this as a person. And the only way I can handle it is to try and look at it from the spiritual perspective. And so remember, this is your reading about you and your relationship. That includes them, but I'm interpreting this very much as your energy, Libra, in that you have only the best of desires and intentions for them, and you wish them well, and you want to bring them evidence of love. In other words, you might almost be trying to make up or trying to patch this up or make it work because you would like to have it continue to work, which in a way is futile because the journey is, it's like the weather is moving you on anyway. There's nothing you can do about it. So it's like being in a relationship dynamic where you have to accept that which is, and then just wish each other the best, blessing your enemies and blessing the ones that you love no matter what. Okay, over here, let's have a look. So what this can do, my feeling here with the Page of Pentacles, is that what it can do is it can expose the genuine sincerity of the love that you do have in this relationship, and that in some points you guys might have been just naive, and that's all there is to it, just an acceptance. Like, it's almost like saying to each other, you know what, who are we to have known that this epic chapter would occur in our lives and our history? I wish you the best, and they have only love for you. There's nothing horrible here. It's just shocking and scary and disorienting. There's no hatred or anything like that. It's very, very loving. But what I feel is happening is that both parties are realizing, like, in their own way, how a huge shift not only is happening, but it's already happened, and it's irreversible. There's no going back, and we're looking forward to it in a new perspective and blessing each other to move on in the journey. And with the page here, it's almost like, you know what? I wish you well. I wish you well. I wish you only the best. I only want the best for you because I love you very, very much. I can tell you're moving on, and I know you love me very much. Thank you very, very much. I can tell, I can feel it all from here. It's just that the change is very cataclysmic. And let's not blame each other. I'm not going to blame you. You're not going to blame me. It's just things change, okay? Irreversible changes. And let's just admit that we were naive and innocent to some degree, and that's okay. You can still love each other. You can still be a completely loving couple here, but just understanding that big shifts are happening, and you were innocent through it all, okay? Both of you, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a beautiful thing in its own way. And all you have to do is wish each other the best. Bless each other and wish each other the best in your own individual journeys as it happens in the context of this relationship, as it is exposed in the context of this loving relationship. Okay? All right. All the best. All the best, dear Libra. You'll be fine. Okay? Bye-bye.